All right, back to Japanese results. I've been kind of lacking on the Japanese side, but here we go. Let's talk about the results. Pretty much dating back to June. Um, Chihou Cup Kagoshima is the first event that I'll be covering, and then pretty much all the way to the end. I think it stopped at WGP Kyoto, which happened recently. So there's a lot of decks, and I think this is a really good representation of what BCS will be like. Obviously, with the new ban list that just got dropped yesterday, where Trick Moon gets hit to 1 and the unrestriction of Gandiva and Levadress counterparts, I feel that the meta will kind of stay the same. So this is a really good indication to see what decks you should be playing or should be testing against playing for your World's Invite. So some of these, I'm not going to go through too much detail, otherwise we'll be here all day. So just going to kind of go through, I guess, the breakdowns and just looking at some of this here and there. So Chihou Cup Season 1 Kagoshima had a pretty dominant representation of Balsaga and Virgila, and I think these are the two big decks to kind of look out for in the BCS season. And then the winning team was Alfred, Leo, Odium and Virgila, and then second place with Leonon, Emma, and Virgila. So again, a lot of teams are opting to play Bafsagra and Virgila, and that's, that's kind of, I guess, the two big decks at the moment. And then I guess translating well into WGP Season 2 in Indonesia. So a lot of Bafsagra, there's like 3 Youthberg, 3 Heart Luru, 3 Eva, like a bunch of 3s, 3 Bangmaya as well. First place was taken by Minerva, second by Leonorn, third Virgila, and fourth, my boy Haptism coming fourth place with Youthberg. So just kind of going through the list, Minerva is very strong in Japanese, on the Japanese side, because they have the Nebula Order, but this deck doesn't actually opt to run the Nebula Order. So if you're playing the English side, this might be a deck list that you should probably reference off. This obviously won a WGP, so the list must be good, the player must be good, so it's a really good reference point for the English side. And then looking at Leonon Mask. So Leonon Mask has been like this deck that has been cropping up here and there, but not really showing a lot of results. But still, it's really strong going second. It's a really strong going second deck, and then can just powerhouse your opponent out of the game very, very quickly. Then third place with Virgila, obviously one of the best decks in the format at the moment. This list ends up running only 2 Persona rides and then 4 Alpha Knight, which is pretty much mandatory, and then just a bunch of your other, one-offs of Energy Blast cards, and then playing Union the Sky, as well as the order that attacks back row, pretty much getting rid of Astashion. Then Youthberg, this is Haptism's build. This one plays Wisdom with Surgowan. This list, I think he did play it for BSF Jakarta, didn't do so well there, but I think the meta was vastly different for BSF than it was for WGP. But anyways, very interesting build. And then going into Chihou Cup Season 1 for Sapporo, again, a lot of Sagra, this time a lot of Heart Luru, and Eleglemma, and then the first place team taking it with Virgila, Bafsaga, and Heart Luru. I think it's the top 3 best decks in the format at the moment. Then going to WGP Season 2 in Hong Kong, first place was Minerva, second place was Overlord, third and fourth were both taken by Virgila. We don't actually have any of the list here, but yeah, feel free to take that as you will. Obviously Minerva, really strong, Virgila as well. So I think if you're talking about the 4 best decks at the moment, it will be Bafsagra, Virgila, Heart Luru, and Minerva. Then going into WGP Season 2 for Korea. So this had 2 Blank Maya, 2 Bafsagra, 1 Heart Luru, 1 Bat, Jujud, and a Night Rose. And then taking it all was the Blank Maya. So this was in the restricted, 1 Veilord meta with Bafsagra. Heart Luru obviously didn't get hit or anything, and then Blank Maya taking it first. So I think Blank Maya is still a really strong deck. Obviously not as good as the other 4 mentioned. And then I am unsure of whether, I guess the Nebula Order would have been available for Minerva as well. But I think at that time, Minerva was not as discovered. So I guess just looking at the list, so Blank Maya, I played this deck pretty much the last 3 regionals, and I think the deck is super unfair. Purely because the Divine skill is really unfair. You just lock out Sentinels for a whole turn and make super big columns. So this one plays crit heals, soul fronts, which is interesting. And then playing 2 Evoke and a Quen Lu. Quen Lu is pretty gross, especially when you are post Divine Skill and then you need, I don't know, your Vade Rock to hit like ridiculous numbers, and then you just lock out Sentinels because Sentinels are grade 1, can't play grade 1s or greater. So that Quen Lu tech is actually pretty interesting. Might be something worth investigating for the BCS season as well. Otherwise, playing Fire Regalis as the choice for Regalis piece. So that's that. And then second place was Buff Sagra. Pretty self-explanatory. I think we've seen this list more than enough. This one plays 2 Defending Roar, which is behind my webcam there. But yeah, Buff Sagra. And then Heart Luru, this is as straightforward as it gets. Playing Filia instead of the Arresta build. And I think the Filia build, as long as you draw one of the orders hard drawn, then you're like pretty set, because then you use the grade 1 on turn 4 to be able to get your third order going first. So as long as you have an order and you meet the 3 requirements, by the time you hit the grade 3, then you're chilling, right? Then jumping to WGP Season 2 in Thailand. So a lot of Heart Luru, 8 Heart Luru, and then 7 Buff Saga and 5 Virgila. And Virgila ended up coming first and second, with Heart Luru coming third and Shoujo Doji coming fourth. That's a pretty insane top, especially in this meta where everything is like super aggressive, right? Virgila, pretty self-explanatory. Ace unit as your EB cycler, excess EB cycler, EB user, and then you run the EB cycler with Shinrings. Yep. I think later builds start to run the Dino Dragon, but yeah, I think this was prior to Dino Dragon existing. Again, another Vigila list, maxing out on Persona Rage, which I agree with, not playing the Ace unit here, but playing the 15k Bind EB3 girl, and then yeah, restand heals, crit heals, defending roar, all the good stuff. And then this is the Heart Luru build. This one playing Filia, I agree. I think the deck is just very straightforward, very figured out. Like, there's not really much you can kind of alter with Heart Luru, to be honest. Then, WGP Season 2 Malaysia, 4 Heart Luru in the top 8, 2 Buff Saga, 1 Prison, and 1 Flam G. First, second, and third were all Heart Luru, and then fourth place was the Prison. Lists are on Fuzzy's website. Then Chihou Cup Season 1 in Himeji, a lot of teams brought Buff Sagra, Heart Luru, Minerva, and Virgila. Again, the top 4 decks in the format. First place was taken by Heart Luru, Buff Sagra, and Minerva. Pretty much again, like you choose any 3 of the 4 and you're like chilling, right? This one obviously didn't take Virgila, which is fine. And then like you can kind of see like trends, right? Second place also brought Virgila, Buff Saga, and then took Bat instead. I guess like the slots there are diversity cut related, so you might see some oddballs here and there. Then Chihou Cup Season 2 in Tsukaba, 6 Buff Sagra, 6 Minerva, 5 Eva, lots of Eva, only 3 Virgila and like 2 Heart Luru, not a lot. And then first place was taken by Jackknife, which is a Buddy Fight collab deck with Buff Saga and Zorga, and then second place was Emma, Youthberg, and Minerva. Again, diversity cut does play a factor in that. Then WGP Season 3 in Shanghai, so 2 Buff Sagras, this is only top 4, so 2 Buff Sagras made it with 1 Luad and 1 Minerva. That's pretty crazy, and Luad came first, that's wild to me. Luad in this meta, where everything is like omega aggressive, it's quite interesting to see Luad performing well. So yeah, all you Luad fans, just check out the list on Fuzzy's website. Then we have Chihou Cup Season 2 in Sendai. Again, a lot of teams brought Buff Sagra. Vaserug is starting to creep up here with Heart Luru, Minerva, Eleglemma, Amorta here and there. First place was taken by Buff Sagra, Vaserug, and Eva. Second place was taken by one of the new Token Rivalry decks, which was Kasen, with Eleglemma and Tsukikage, which is Buddy Fight. And then jumping to WGP Season 3 in Korea, first place was taken by Raziel. That's wild. Second place was Virgila. Third was Minerva. Fourth was Buff Sagra. So I guess we'll just look at the Raziel list here. This list is pretty straightforward. I think one of the big inclusions was the new Nebula order. And then obviously You play Valtrosis to find your stuff, the Eagle as a guard restrict, and also to find your stuff. And then you have Dissection Angel as well. And then I guess you have like the one-off bind guide that allows you to draw, but otherwise you pretty much just grind out the game, and then get to a position where, you know, you just look at your top deck with Godboilia, start stacking and stuff, and then just win the game like that. So that's Razel. And then we also have the Virgila list. This one playing the Dino Dragon. I think the Dino Dragon is really strong because it allows you to search for, I think, a grade 3 card upon retiring, or a grade 2. No, I think it's like grade 2 or greater, or a Dino Dragon added to hand, which is really strong. So decks are opting to run Dino Dragon over Shenri, which kind of makes sense, but I guess English doesn't have that. So you replace Dino Dragon with Shenri, and then pretty much throughout the game, you play your ultimate skill and Shenri becomes live anyways. Then Minerva, this one is with the Nebula Order. So this is obviously only available in Japan. We don't have the Nebula Order yet. So once the Nebula Order does come out, then this deck becomes much better because it's able to search for its key pieces from the top 7. Essentially, Nebula Order is a Fire Regalis every single turn, which is like ridiculous. So being able to fish that out is really strong. But the choice of Regalis here is Twin Cast, which kind of makes sense, especially because the Nebula Order is pretty much Fire Regalis. So a bit more diverse, well, flexibility in your build. Then you have WGP Season 2 Kyoto. The pie chart isn't, oh yeah, it is, okay. 14 Buff Sagra, and if this doesn't tell you, this is solos by the way, Buff Sagra, 14 of them. If this doesn't tell you this is one of the best decks in the format, it is. And then Virgila coming up, not even half of the proportion of Buff Sagra, coming up at 6, with Minerva at 4, Heartless at 3. These 4 reign the format at the moment. First place was taken by Virgila, second Buff Sagra, third Virgila, fourth was Buff Sagra. So we're just going to look at the top 2 lists. This is the Virgila list. Not playing Ace Unit and playing the Scythe Girl, and then playing 3 Dino Dragon instead of Shenri. Pretty good deck to copy. Obviously, Dino Dragon, you swap it with Shenri, but otherwise everything else is kind of available, right, in English. Not playing the Twin Cast and playing the Union in the Sky instead, which kind of makes sense. It kind of works the same way. The good thing about this is that you can CB1 or EB3. So if you go first, you only have excess 3 energy, which you want to use for your Scythe Girl. Otherwise, you know, your 4 Heart and the Union in the Sky, you can counterblast 1 instead. So a bit more flexibility in terms of using certain resources throughout the game. Then we have the Buff Sagra list. So this one plays 3 Kakshanti, no Samadhi. But otherwise, you know, 2/2 of the arms, 1 defending roar. And yeah, we've seen this list over and over again. I'm not too sure if I like 2 Apara. I think 3 Apara is nice. But then again, you know, this player did well, so that's all them. Then we had WGP Deluxe Season 3 in Indonesia. So 2 Buff Sagra, 2 Heart Luru, 1 Virgila, Azidaka, which is Buddy Fight, 1 Eva and 1 Minerva, and then Buff Sagra taking it first. Kenzio, he went back to Indo and got it first. Congrats, man. Second place with Heart Luru, third Virgila, fourth Heart Luru. So this is Kenzio's list. Pretty nice list. I like it. You know, very straightforward stuff, no weird stuff. You play 2 Kakshanti, which is what I like. Instead of using the Samadhi, you use Divistia, which is fine. And I think running 4 restand heals is just insane. Like, I think that's just way too good. Playing 2 shield, 2 sword, 1 mace, which makes sense, 1 defending roar, and then pretty much the rest are all good stuff. I think 4 restand heals is really strong in this format because pretty much every deck has a restander. Like even like the tier below, right? You know, your Blind Mice has a restander in the Evoke Alchemist, Kairi has a restander, and I think a lot of decks just have restanders. Leonore has restanders, and yeah, it's just, restand heals are just so good at the moment. Then the second place is Heart Luru. This one plays Philia. Again, like that build. No Arresters here. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory stuff. No effect heals. So just four vanilla heals, call it a day. And then the Virgila deck, playing the Ace unit instead with the Scythe Girl, 4 Dino Dragon. So yeah, you can kind of mix and match the ratios there. But I do think Nimin should be maxed. I think that allows you to kind of dig further. And I think 4 heart is nice because if you can persona ride, call 4 heart, and you can dig for more Alpha Knights. But I mean, if you draw Alpha Knight and you get Alpha Knight, then you're just a better player, right? Then we have the last event to cover, which is WGP Season 3 in Thailand. So first place was Virgila, second place Bavsagra, third was Eva, and fourth is Kassen. Majority of players brought Bavsagra, so 7 Bavsagra, 7 Vaserug. So Vaserug has a high proportion in this pie chart, along with 6 Heartluru, 3 Virgila, and 3 Youthberg. Not a single Minerva, which is pretty wild. So first place, this is Virgila, very maxed, it seems. Restand Heal is nice, just 1 copy. Yeah, it's pretty normal as what we've seen. Bavsagra again. This one plays the restand of grade 1 along with 4 Trick Moon. I'm not too sure if I like that. I think if you want to just run it, you just run Shenri instead. I think it's just much better. You blow up the front row anyways, you can mace back row. If you equip your arms from hand, you proc the Shenri anyways. Shenri is really strong in the early game, whereas this one relies on the front row restanding to get its maximum value, although it does, go into soul regardless of that. But I just feel like Shenri being a 13k is much stronger. But yeah, I mean, later on in the game, you're gonna call multiple Trick Moons anyways, so I'm unsure about that. But otherwise, still good list. 1 Axe, which is pretty cool. Then the Eva list, this one is not playing the T-Fault engine. So there's a new monster that allows you to essentially search top 5 to call 1, because you're playing orders grade 1, grade 2, then it procs. So yeah, quite interesting. I guess you're not playing the monster ride line, so yeah, you're playing just the Pride Cyclers, the Ace unit, Combine Rushes free call, and then Combine Rusher Light call into the back row, just standard Eva stuff. Then the last one is Kassen. So for those who don't know what this deck does, it's pretty much DP. So you get essentially certain effects based on the threshold of your Vanguard's power. Essentially, if it reached 30k, the front row gains +5, 40k gains crit, 50k is, I think it's like guard 3 or something. So yeah, pretty strong. So I actually don't know how this deck works in action, but very cool to see, Token Rambu coming out of the box and, showing results. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the results for the JP side. I know that there are a few other events coming up soon. I know that BSF Spain, I think it was, or wherever it was in Europe, just finished. So we'll get results for that very, very soon, as well as some of the JP events coming up soon. And yeah, hopefully we get to see a few more results from other parts, and I think we're in like kind of a break period at the moment before things start kicking back for the BCS season, at least for the West anyways. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like this video, pop a like, comment down below what you guys think of all the results seen here so far. If you guys want to see any lists, pop on vg-paradox.com. Fuzzy's website is an absolute godsend to this Vanguard community. Make sure you use it. It's like infinite amounts of resource. Just use it. Why wouldn't you, right? So yeah, if you guys haven't already, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.